Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. If you guys are new here, welcome. And if you guys have already been subscribed to the channel, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate each and every one of you guys a lot. Today's video is a super exciting one. These kind of videos are my favorite ones to do. It's 5 looks with one palette. And today we're going to use ABH Jackie Aina palette. I love this palette. You would have heard a million times on my channel about it, so I thought that's the best way as we're diving into fall and at the end of the summer. I think it's an amazing palette to have, and right now it's on a sale of $31. I feel it's worth every single penny. Go snatch it. But without further ado, let's dive right into the video. For the first look, I'm going to take the shade called Ginger from the palette and I'm going to buff it all across my crease in circular motion. Because we're going to do a halo eye, I'm going to intensify the outer and the inner corner of the eye. And for the lid, I'm going to take the shade called Sponsored and put it right on top of the lid. It's a beautiful green-brown pigment. And to intensify the inner and the outer corner, I'm going to take the shade called Edges from the palette and just buff it in the inner and the outer corners and also in the crease. I'm also going to put the same shade Edges on the lower lash line. And for the inner corners, I'm going to take the shade called Dwellers. And I'm also going to put it underneath the brow bone. Now to intensify the inner and the outer corner a little more, I'm going to take the shade called Credit from the palette. And to line my waterline, I'm going to take Colourpop's Mr. Bing eyeliner. And then I'm going to put some mascara and liner. And that's our final look. For my second look, I'm going to take the shade called Supreme and buff it all across my crease in circular motion. And then to intensify my outer corners, I'm going to take the shade called Pinker from the palette. Now to cover up my lid and the inner corner, actually my whole eye, I'm going to take the shade called Supreme. And for the 1/3 of the lid, I'm going to take the shade called Trust Issues and plop it right in the 1/3 of the eye. For the inner corners, I'm going to take the shade called Soleil and I'm also going to put it under my brow bone. Now I'm going to finish off the final look with a winged liner and some mascara. For the third look, I'm going to take the shade called Supreme and I'm going to buff it in my crease. Now to intensify the outer corner, I'm going to take the shade called Credit from the palette. Now I'm going to cut my crease with the help of any concealer that you have, and I'm also going to fill in my 1/3 of the eyelid just to give it a clean blank canvas for my shimmer to stick on top of it. And talking about shimmer, I'm going to take the shade called Wigglies from the palette. It's a beautiful red, and I'm going to plop it right on top where we applied our concealer. Now to blend both the shades together, I'm again going to take the shade called Credit from the palette, and I'm just going to wriggle left and right in small motions so that it blends together. I'm going to take the same Wigglies as well as Credit and put it on the lower lash line. I'm going to blend everything together, and for the inner corners I'm going to apply the shade called Soleil, and I'm going to finish off this look with some liner and mascara. And that's my third look. For my fourth look, I'm going to start with a shade called Ginger from the palette, and I'm going to plop it right on my crease. Now I'm going to take the shade called Credit from the palette, and I'm going to plop it on the inner corners and the outer corner of the eye, since we are going for a spotlight halo eye. And with no product on the brush, I'm just going to buff everything together. Now just to give it a clean canvas right in the center of the lid, I'm just going to take any concealer that I have, and I'm just going to plop it right in the center and just going to blend it out with the same brush. And for the lid shade, I'm going to take the shade called Lituation from the palette. It's a beautiful taupe, and I'm going to plop it right in the center of the eyelid, and I'm going to blend it out with Credit. I'm going to take the same shade, Ginger and Credit from the palette, and I'm going to also apply it on my lower lash line. And for my inner corners, I'm going to take the shade called Trust Issues and plop it right in the inner corner of the eye. And that's my look number 4. For my final look, I'm going to take the shade Ginger again, and I'm going to buff it in the crease. Now just to intensify a little more, I'm going to take the shade called Edges from the palette, and I'm also going to buff that in my crease. I'm also going to take those two shades together, and I'm going to buff it in the lower lash line. And to intensify my outer corners, I'm going to take the shade called Big Wig from the palette. It's a beautiful deep purple. I'm going to go back and forth with these two colors, Edges and Big Wig, just to blend everything together. I'm going to take the shade Big Wig again and just put on the outer corners of the lower lash line. And for my center lid shade, I'm going to take the shade called Shookington from the palette. And for my inner third of the eye, I'm going to take the shade called Zam.
It's a beautiful rose gold. It's such a dimensional shade. Don't look at the video, guys. Believe me, it's such a dimensional shade. And for the inner corners, I'm going to take the shade called Soleil from the palette. And that's my final look.
And those were my 5 looks using Jackie Aina's palette. I really hope that you liked it. I love this palette, as you guys know already. I absolutely adore the color scheme that she's put into this palette. I really hope that you liked it. If you do like it, please do give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and also ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I'm posting next. I generally upload every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!